What's up, guys? Hope you're doing awesome. Hey, I'm really excited. On this video, we're going to be talking with Casey about what it means to be a CMO or a fractional CMO or virtual CMO. As digital marketing agency owners, we know that there's a lot of things that go into our services, right? Building the websites, getting them ranked, doing search engine optimization, all of that fun stuff. But there's a lot of deliverables that go into that. And that's how we run our agency. That's how we're going to continue to run our agency. But Casey's doing something a little bit different, Casey Slaughter, where he's being the strategist in companies and really just getting paid to bring the ideas, the strategy, and then bring third-party contractors into the mix. As a chief marketing officer, a fractional chief marketing officer, I think this is a really interesting approach. It's not for everybody, but I think if you're more of the creative type, more of the strategist type, you don't like necessarily managing the team and doing the work yourself, but you like being on the strategy side of things, this may be a great fit. Give me a chat in the comments here if you're watching us live. Say live. If you're watching this after the fact, let me know that you're watching it after the fact. Go.
Hey, hear you loud and clear.
There's Casey. How you doing, man? Glad you could join us on this session.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Excellent. So we're live. I kind of laid the foundation that there's these two schools of thought, right? Running an agency or being really being more of a CMO. Can you talk to us a little bit about what a CMO is and kind of what that entails, just high level?
Yeah, awesome. So I think when I think of a CMO, I think of someone who solves bigger problems. Right? That's their whole job. They've got a board of directors, let's say it's a Fortune 500 company that's telling them, what the outcome has to be. And they have to get from point A to point B with the resources and the talent and the assets that are available. And they really are there kind of in this driver's seat or like the director's chair. And on these really large organizations, that CMO might have an enormous budget where they can just say, oh, just cut a check for $1 million and go hire that agency to do the work. But on smaller companies, and when I say smaller, I mean like SMBs that are doing, let's say, between 1 and 100 million a year, there's still a sizable budget and they need someone in that place, but that person, solves the problems that are important to that organization, and they solve it either by hiring or they solve it by bringing in an agency. They solve it through process, but they're not doing the work themselves. I think that's what's kind of like the notable difference.
Yeah. So that's a CMO, a fractional. Talk to us about what a fractional CMO is and like what kind of company sizes typically would be interested in someone to fill that kind of role.
Yeah, cool. So a fractional CMO is kind of this new thing that's happening. We're seeing a fractionalization of C-suite services. I think we've all seen it kind of vis-a-vis through lawyers. Lawyers used to have full-time jobs at companies and they would be an in-house general counsel. And now organizations just don't need that person because there's things like LegalZoom, right? So we can get like a lot of our stuff kind of pre-built. That's kind of like, we have a lawyer that like reviews it all to make sure everything is cool, but they don't have to like start from scratch. So these lawyers are used less. So that's outside general counsel. And next is what I've seen is like this fractional CFO. So organizations that are growing need to be intelligent with how they spend money and how they just like move their money around. So instead of having a full-time CFO, which can be cost prohibitive for companies, they have a fractional CFO. So that's also come down to the marketing level role where organizations are saying, we've traditionally grown, let's say substantially, 20, 30% year over year through word of mouth and just through some very basic campaigns that Karen in marketing runs for us and everything's fine, right? A marketing team of one on a $20 million a year company. Those things happen kind of all across the world. What these organizations are seeing now is, I think with the pressures of COVID is a big component of it, but just kind of the natural progression to digital, organizations are wanting marketing strategy and leadership and direction, but they don't need the person full time. So they're looking for a CMO, someone who comes to work and says, I have your best interests in mind. I'm not trying to get rich by, like selling just my agency services. If it's a good fit, I'll certainly introduce them, right? And we can go through an RFP process and I'll show you that my agency is great. But really what I'm here to do as your fractional CMO is to make you successful. I'm building your team. I'm helping you hire in the US W-2s or 1099s, right? Full-time employees or contractors, helping you find the right agency. So the fractional CMO comes with this different kind of energy, which is I'm here to support your organization. There's an inevitable future when I'm potentially going to be gone, right? We won't work together for whatever reason. And I want you to be better off. I want to have built this team. And it's what these companies are really looking for. And I think it's the pressures of COVID have taken all these organizations that have said, we only hire in person. You know, we're based in Nashville, Tennessee, and everyone that works for us is within the surrounding area, and they all drive to work 5 days a week. And now they're realizing, actually, we can hire talent from across the globe, and we don't need someone full-time. And I don't want a marketing consultant because a consultant just tells me what to do, but doesn't help me actually see it get done. So they're wanting like kind of like this newer, like, yeah, kind of like fresher role that has their best interest in mind for longer term commitments.
Very, very interesting. So I think you run a CMO agency. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into that and kind of how that's blossomed in your own business.
Yeah, totally. So I was working inside of an agency for a number of years and learned the agency model. And I love the agency model. I think the agency model is just a killer place to go because the agency model stays nimble long-term, right? Like when you have an agency, if the market shifts, you can kind of follow it pretty easily. You have the trust of your clients. It's a great business model. There's a great way to have arbitrage and make cash on your team members doing work. So I think the agency model is sound. But what I was finding when I was in that agency was just kind of like who I am. I was doing some consulting work. I would go out and find the client. I'd sell the client. I'd service the client. And what I wanted to do was just kind of do that better. So I left that agency and I actually took a job full-time as a CMO. And the full-time job as a CMO was fun because I was given the title of CMO, kind of like finally I'd like earned this title. But as people listening to this have probably kind of experienced themselves, just because I was the CMO doesn't mean that's all I did. I was the janitor, right? I was the email copywriter. I was the social media guy. I was in Photoshop putting together images, right? I was looking through analytics and ensuring that the UTMs, you know, the naming convention was normalized. And like, it was just such a pain to do all of those things. And I wasn't particularly great at a lot of it. And I didn't get a lot of energy from it. I was starting to get burnt out. Worse yet was because there was really no budget, I couldn't hire anyone else to do the work. So I said to that client, hey guys, listen, we're not going to hit our quarterly goals at this pace, and I want to do well. So I'm going to drop my rate, and I'm going to drop my hours, and I'm going to hire a team, and we're going to get this work done. And they said, cool, let's give it a shot. So I did that. I dropped my hours down to about a quarter, and I was able to then leverage my relationships with agencies and people and vendors that I knew, bringing in a copywriter, bring in a social media person that kind of didn't manage like the marketing technology, that kind of stuff. They then became part of that organization. I told them what I wanted to see happen. They made my dreams come true, which were the client's dreams, and everyone was happy. So my stress level plummeted, but the problem was, so did my income, right? So I lost half my income. I was pretty happy that I thought I kind of figured something out, but my wife was like, hey, like, let's get that income back up, right? So I went out and sold another client. Similar kind of strategy. I'm going to work a handful of hours a week. I'm going to charge this rate, and I got my income back up. So in about 20 hours a week, I was making what I was previously making full time. But the problem was I didn't know what I was doing, Josh. I was in like the deep end, and I had no like support. I would feel stressed before these calls with clients, not knowing how am I going to serve them? What am I going to say on the call? What's the next direction? Should I be doing a webinar with them? Like, should they host a webinar, or should we be doubling down on LinkedIn ads? Like, what's the right way to solve this problem for them to help them reach these quarterly goals? And it just became kind of anxiety producing. I was like really worried about it. My name was on the line. You know, I want to be upstanding. I want to deliver great value. So I said, all right, if I'm going to do this work, I have to have a framework that I can follow. And that's ultimately what I sat down and built. I built a framework that I could drive my clients through. So first of all, when I met a client, a prospect, when they came to me, I I could see if they would be a good fit. And if they were a good fit for the way that I would process them, then I could take them through the process, sell them and then service them. And I mean, much like what you teach, if an organization comes to an agency owner and they say, hey, I'm an HVAC company and you're an agency that services HVAC companies, like you probably can help them. If that same company says, I sell supplements to women 65 and older, like maybe that's not a good fit, right? It's like too much of a context switch. So I built that system and process, and it just took off. I was able to reduce the hours I worked with clients and increase the leverage and satisfy the results that they wanted. The joke that we have kind of in the company is the less I prepare, the more I make per hour, right? And it seems like kind of pejorative, like you don't want to be underprepared. And I'm certainly not underprepared, but I don't want to spend my nights and weekends preparing. I want to know precisely what to do and be able to hit the ground running every single time. So this process has allowed for that. It means every time I hop on a call with a client, it's like easy, straightforward, right? It's not like I'm solving easy problems. They're complex. They always get more complex, and the outcomes of them always have more kind of downstream effects. But I don't have the same level of questioning and stress that I used to have, and I'm able to deliver a better result for the clients.
I like it. So if I think a lot of the people in this Facebook group specifically either run an agency or they're really involved in digital marketing and they want to build up, a full-time income doing digital marketing. Like, what do you think the sweet spot is, and what's the opportunity for fractional CMO services for that group?
Yeah. So I think that owning an agency and being a fractional CMO are really two sides of the same coin. And why I say that is the agency model, if you're selling folks in at a couple $100 or $1,000 a month, you have to have a volume of sales to be able to reach a 6-figure take-home income as an agency owner, right? There's just like a necessary number of sales you have to make. Let's just say that you're charging $1,000 a month. You're going to need if it's just you servicing them, you're going to have 10, 12 clients that you're going to have in order to be taking home $100,000 a year. On the fractional CMO side, you can sell one client and cover that nut. So what's neat is that the fractional CMO can sell a service at a high price, high leverage, deliver high value, and satisfy that financial nut. And if you're building your agency right now, what would it be like to have a $5,000 or a $10,000 a month client that you're only working a handful of hours a week on? And then you can spend the rest of your time building your agency. Because certainly the agency route has like some passivity to it, which I think, we're kind of all generally after. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in my mind, if you run an agency like we do, I think there's lots of times where the client is saying, like, I want someone that can look big picture, not just run the SEO website, whatever our package is. Someone that can look big picture and kind of cross-channel. That would be open to like a fractional CMO type service. Like, rather than us hiring someone for 120 grand, could we pay you or a representative of your company $7,000 a month to be that strategist? I think there's an opportunity if you run an agency like ours for this type of thing. I think there's also an opportunity if you're, you don't really even want to do the agency stuff. You like to be the strategist. That this makes a lot of sense for.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add to that, often clients are even probably asking your agency for those high level. You're getting those emails, you're getting those text messages on your calls where you kind of show your results. They're saying, yeah, but what do you think about this thing? What do you think about this marketing campaign idea? And I'm sure there's plenty of people listening here that are the kind of people that say, it's not my job, but I'm going to help you out because I want to throw you a bone because I like you as a client. Mm-hmm. Being a fractional CMO is the natural way to produce like a profit center from that service that you may already be providing kind of tangentially, and really kind of codify it into a process and kind of put it into a box. So kind of what your limits are, how to charge, how to service them.
Love it. So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be interesting for a lot of you. I know it's something we're exploring in our agency. Casey and I are going to be doing a webinar next week where Casey's going to unpack this in depth and really kind of walk you through how you would set this up. Casey, just tell us a little bit about what we're going to cover on that deep dive.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of like pull back the curtain and kind of share how a marketing strategy gets built. And one of the things I'll probably say then is I like to produce marketing strategies that I'll die on a hill for. Like, I know that it's the right marketing strategy because I know who the company is. I know what their outcome goals are. I know what their resources are. I know what assets they have. I know their people and their capabilities. Knowing all of that stuff, the best path from point A to point B is what I can define, right? And I'm going to show you kind of how I come up with that marketing strategy. And once that marketing strategy gets defined, what's really neat as a fractional CMO is it's a flywheel. You built it, right? You started spinning it, and then you just kind of keep it moving, right? So the work doesn't become more time intensive as the relationship goes on, but the work certainly can still remain, right? It's not just like a short-term relationship that you have with a client.
Love it. Good. So it's going to be great. Anything else the folks should know about why they might want to attend this live event?
Yeah. So there's just one thing that kind of like this is a problem that I solved a few years ago, and I said to myself, all right, where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be in 10 years? Where do I want to be in 20 years? And if you look at people like Peter Diamandis, who talks about the future in his books like Bold and Abundance and right all that stuff. I actually did the book launches for him. I helped him launch both those to the New York Times bestseller list. When Peter talks about that, he talks about how the future is just growing at an exponential rate, right? Moore's law says the speed of a processor doubles every 18 months. That's why your iPad today is going to be worthless in a year and a half, right? So where do I want to be? What can I predict? My wife had a son. He'll turn 1 on Monday. And I've been thinking with him, like, as I was thinking of starting a family, now that I have him, what's life going to be like? It's not going to be my father's life where he worked at IBM for 25 years, then got his pension. And like that doesn't exist in today's market. So the answer that I came up with was, here's where I want to be in the future. I want people to come after me with better and better opportunities where I can make bigger and bigger impacts and have higher and higher asymmetric outcomes. So I want to be chased by people who have great opportunities that want to pay me more and more for my time and leverage. And I want to be able to choose those opportunities. I don't want to have to go to a coffee shop by myself with a blank notebook and kind of invent the future. I want really smart people to chase me. And if anyone here on the call is thinking, what's going to happen in the future? Where am I going to go? Just consider a future where people look to you as the guy who solves the problems, as the woman who solves the bigger problems. And if you stay in that position, you'll only get stronger. You'll only get better. The quality of relationships coming to you, I think, will always increase. And you'll just have a sense of leverage that really no one else has. It's the ability to kind of define your future and become a magnet for opportunities. And I think that, it sounds maybe a little pie in the sky, but just yesterday, 2 days ago, someone came to me, $150 million a year with a $4 million marketing budget in the hair care space. And they're looking for, a fractional CMO, and they're open to an asymmetric upside opportunity. That one deal for someone could easily net them a high 6-figure, low 7-figure revenue. Like, that's a huge opportunity. A few years ago, that opportunity would never come into my lap. So these are for this fractional CMO idea, I think ultimately can be for people who want a huge future and they want to kind of, like Wayne Gretzky's dad says, right? Skate to where the puck is going. If you want to go there, become the highest priced, highest, most effective person in your space. And on the other side, if you're just looking to add an easy 6 figures a year to your agency, or you want to cover your nut while you build your agency, adding fractional CMO services is, I think, just like the shortest path to success and financial freedom.
I love it. So if that sounds interesting, you want to learn more about kind of what a fractional CMO is, how you could add this to your agency, definitely click the link here, get yourself registered. I'm excited about unpacking this with Casey next week. And I think that's it. Anything you want to say before we wrap up this quick video, Casey?
I'm really excited about this. Just consider, if you have an agency, just come to the call next week. So it's on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the 21st. I think it's the 21st. Yeah, on the 21st. And just come thinking about your clients. And could you sell one of your clients into a few $1,000s a month fractional CMO service? Or What would it be like if you just had just a couple clients paying you a couple grand a month? Would that push you over a financial edge to give you more freedom, to be able to buy back more of your time? So you can hire a salesperson in your agency so that you don't have to be the salesperson, so that you can hire someone to be the doer instead of you being the doer, right? Move yourself up. So just kind of consider where you are right now and what that extra cash would bring in. And let's have a discussion about if it makes sense for your agency when we chat on Wednesday next week.
Sounds great. Thanks for jumping on here with us. Excited to see you guys next week on Wednesday, the 21st, 2 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to register, and we'll see you there.
All right, take care, y'all.
CMO in chat if you're excited about this whole fractional CMO idea. See you later, guys.
Awesome. Take care.